get a little loud sometimes, so I'm a little worried about the microphone. So if I start hurting your ears, tell me that I'm talking too loud. Oh, it should be louder. Okay. That's not something I usually hear. Oh no. I'm giving you a preview. There we go. So, one of the things that drives me completely insane is that people tell me all the time that people who are into yoga are bad at business. And I think maybe there's like a little bit of truth to that sometimes, but I think it's because people think about business in a way that's different than I think they should think about business. And what I mean by this is that usually people think about business as like a bad thing, right? Like, oh, I'm going to do this cool yoga business and it's going to be awesome except for the part where it's a business and I have to deal with that, right? And it drives me even like especially crazy when I hear people that are in my kind of industry talking down about people who own yoga studios, which by the way, my wife owns a yoga studio. So I literally have talked to salespeople who are telling me that my wife is not smart, right? And that's frustrating to me. So this talk is basically an argument that everybody who is into yoga, who enjoys practicing yoga, who is either an instructor or a studio owner or whatever the case may be, maybe you are just a person who practices yoga, my argument is that you already have the wisdom to succeed in business, right? And so what I do is I just am taking a lot of the lessons that instructors who have touched my life in very positive ways, and I'm just kind of like try to hold a mirror up in front of all of you all to say like, no, you're not bad at business. You're really good at business. You just need to take some of the lessons that you apply or that you tell me to apply to my yoga practice, right, to your own businesses. So real quick, who here is like a yoga instructor? Just so I know like who I'm, okay, all of you almost, awesome. And are there any of you who own yoga studios? And are there any of you who are like aspiring, like you're not yet an instructor, but you want to be an instructor? All right, cool. So I'm gonna start this off by doing a little bit of a visualization exercise. So like reverse meditation, basically, right? Because I'm gonna ask you to think about stuff. So close your eyes. I'm gonna dim the lights a little bit. Take a few deep breaths, like you're getting ready to meditate, but you're not getting ready to meditate, you're getting ready to visualize. And I want you to just think about, like, what is your optimal, like, situation for your business, for what you do. Like, really, like, think about it. What does, for you, individually, like, what does success look like? Like, it looks like something to you, right? So, now, like, wrap that up in, like, a sphere of light. This is what you want to do. This is like you have made a decision that you want to be a professional in the yoga industry. In part, I'm assuming because it will help you live the kind of life that you want to live. So now, inside that sphere of light, like there's something that you enjoy doing that you're really good at doing, and you have this goal of what your optimal business looks like, or your optimal day-to-day life running that business looks like. And there's something that you do that's hard. It's hard. That thing. Not the hard thing like commuting between studios that's irritating hard. I mean hard like when you're done with it, you're like, wow, that was hard, but I feel good that I did that. Okay, so now that light, like let it rise up, kind of high and tall into the sky. And we're going to sort of slowly come out of our visualization now. You are all visionaries. Somebody told me that one time, and I was like, how dare you say that nicely? And so I looked up, like, wow, really? I'm a visionary? That sounds like someone who's really special, you know? And so I looked up the definition of visionary, and I saw a person with original ideas about what the future will or could be like. And then I thought to myself, oh, well, everybody can do that. I'm not very special. And that is the exact wrong way to think about that. The right way to think about it is that everybody in here is a visionary. You know, and you can go through life thinking that, like, everything, whatever, or you can, like, Jessa and Amy, like, they made this whole thing. Like, it wasn't here 3 years ago. It didn't exist. I keep going ahead in my slides. I was doing so good, too. So, it's like, it bothers me when we don't recognize the amazingness that exists in the universe, right? And I was telling Jess and Amy, like, I walk around here and there's like people all over who own businesses who are talking with you all, and you guys are doing yoga and you're yoga instructors, and none of it would have existed at all unless Jessa and Amy made it happen. But nobody talks about stuff like that, right? Oh, business, I hate. Guess what? This is business. Right? This is business. So to you, what does business mean? Right? To me, it means like talking very excitedly in front of younger people. But what I want to really argue is that business is vegetables. Okay? And unfortunately, a lot of yogis, I don't want to eat my vegetables. No, right? But no. Vegetables are good for you, right? Like they nourish you. And so what I'm saying is, like, business is nourishment, right? It is not a bad word, right? Like, generating revenue, doing something that you enjoy doing, and being able to pay your rent. Guess what? Stop feeling bad about that. Right? So nourishment is to provide with food or other substances the things necessary for growth, health, and good condition. Right? So this is a picture I took on a yoga retreat that my wife's studio put together in the middle of Yosemite. For those of you who I have no relationship other than I think they're awesome, there's an organization called Back to Earth, and they will lead you on a trip into the wilderness, and you can bring a yoga instructor with you. And that's business, right? And I believe that business can foster growth and health and good condition. So there are 6, is it? Well, yeah, 6 exact things I'm going to talk about specifically that I have learned directly from yoga that I have applied to my business. I try not to talk too much about my business other than, like, in the context of things, so as not to be like I'm the bags, that's the advertising. This is, I'm just trying to talk with you all. So it's setting an intention, accepting where you are, doing your practice, embracing strength, creating space, and knowing your limits. And I'm just going to, I'm going to get very excited and emotional throughout this, so forgive me. This is how I am. Okay. So everyone tells me in yoga class to set an intention, right? Why are you here? Right? Usually my intention is something like superstar awesomeness or something like that. But okay, these are two totally different kinds of boats, but they're both boats, right? And if you want to build that cruise ship, awesome. I want you to build that cruise ship. If you want to build that rowboat, also awesome. I want you to build that rowboat. There is no wrong answer for what do you want to build, right? Whatever you visualized, that's what you want to build. But gosh, it is a really bad idea if you want to build that rowboat to start pretending like you're building that cruise ship. And if you want to build that cruise ship, it is a really bad idea to start pulling together the materials and the resources that you would need to build a rowboat. And I see people all the time who end up with businesses that they didn't want, with day-to-day lives that they didn't want. And they forget that part of running a business is setting an intention and thinking about what do you want out of your business. So do you want to work part-time or full-time? Again, there's not a right or a wrong answer, right? Do you want to be solo? Do you want to do something by yourself, or do you want a partner? Do you want investors? Do you want to be independent? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just thinking about, what is your intention for your business? So for my wife's studio, she very specifically wanted to be the best studio in our neighborhood. So she doesn't pay for Google AdWords for blanket Chicago yoga studio, right? When Yelp calls her and asks, do you want to spend money to try and advertise your business? She says no, because the way I advertise my business is by having relationships with the local restaurants and the local boutiques and that kind of stuff. That's how she advertised it. There would be nothing wrong if she said, I want to build the best yoga studio in Chicago. But then tactically, she would have to do different things, right? So she wanted to create a studio with a loyal student base, not one with a huge volume of students. Also, I really believe, so I work out of the Loop in Chicago, and I really believe if there was a massive high-volume yoga studio where they were, their intention was, we want to fit 300 people into a yoga class over lunch, if it was done well, they could probably do it, right? And there would be nothing wrong with that. But that would be a terrible thing to do if you wanted to have a neighborhood studio, right? And for our company, for our software company, we want to remain independent. We want to be great software for yoga studios, but we do not care about being good for karate studios. I don't care about them. And it's not that, I'm sure they're great people and everything, but it's not what our business is doing. So once you've set your intention, this is all just my wife teaching me things about yoga and then me trying to apply it to business. So she's the inspiration most of the time for this stuff. But my wife said to me one time, it's like yoga, you just need to accept where you are. And I was like, what are you talking about? This was before she opened her yoga studio. I truly had no idea what she was talking about, accepting where I am. No, I'm never happy with where I am. I know where I want to go, and I'm not there, and I'm always pissed off that I'm not there. Right? So, but the thing is, this is super powerful, accepting where you are. Whether it's in your yoga practice and just accepting that this is how flexible you are right now, right? Or whether it's with your business. My business is not where I want it to be, right? We do not have complete and total worldwide domination yet, right? For every yoga studio. But we are trying to get there. So, but by accepting where you are, you're giving yourself the freedom to say, oh, I am right here, and that is good, and here's where I have visualized things. And, oh, great, now I see my path that I want to go on, right? So I was talking to my brother-in-law the other day. I went to go visit my sister, and he's like, yeah, I've always a little bit been into yoga, but the thing is I'm not flexible. Right. But if you do a lot of yoga, you can become flexible, maybe, right? So there's always beginner wishes, right? And I should, by the way, throw out the caveat, like there's a lot of people in here I know who've been running your studios or your teaching businesses for a while. So, like, I really mean for all of this to be not like I'm teaching you, but more of just like, these are things I've learned from yoga, and I really think you can apply them to business. So like with yoga, the beginners want more flexibility, more strength, more time. With business, we want more money, more help. We also want more time, right? And I truly, this is what I believe. In 2015, we're so lucky right now for the opportunities that we have. In the same way, if you have a body, you can do yoga, right? If you have access to the internet, you can build a business. And it might take a little while, it might take a decade, it might take 5 years, but you can do it, in large part because we have access to tools that we never had access to before. So, what's weird, you have to do your practice, right? That thing that I said, think about, that's really hard, that is also the opportunity. I don't look around at what's going on at this event and think to myself it was anything other than extraordinarily difficult to put together. There's nothing about this event that looks easy to me. It looks really hard to get. How many yoga classes are being taught here this weekend? How many different workshops? How many vendors are there? There's a hotel they had to coordinate with. The whole thing is hard. What's different is in business, sometimes we think that shouldn't be hard, right? Nobody's in chair pose. Why do my legs hurt? I don't understand why my legs hurt. No, you're in chair pose. You know why your legs hurt. Okay, guess what? You're in entrepreneur pose right now. It's supposed to hurt. It hurts. That's if it didn't hurt, then there would be no point. There'd be no value in it. That's but I talk to people who are, just the reality is 50% of every business fails in the first year. Half of them. The other remaining half of them fail within 5 years. Why? It's hard. So don't get upset that it's hard. Embrace that, right? That is the opportunity. And you need to embrace your own strengths, your strengths. I see yoga people all the time. Excuse me. Looking for validation in the wrong places. And I've done it too. In the technology world, we haven't invented a new communication protocol. So I'm not giving talks to programmers. But I see people who are yoga instructors trying to take fancier Instagram pictures all the time. And I see yoga instructors trying to impress the celebrity yogi that they like in hopes that they'll maybe get a retweet and then they'll get a couple new followers. When the reality is they could walk down to the nursing home down the street and instantly be the most knowledgeable person about the human body that anybody in that community knows. Right? So, be strong, embrace your strengths, and be courageous enough to be strong and recognize that haters are going to hate. That's just the way it is. And this video, I like this video, but the reason I like this video is not because there's a skinny woman in her underpants doing yoga. I like this video because it upset a lot of people, but it upset a lot of people because they didn't understand the intention behind the video. if you think that the intention behind this video was to make you feel good about yourself, I'm sorry to tell you that was not the intention of that video. The intention of that video was to get people talking about a gym. And they were very successful with that. So you can either look at that video and be angry that there's a skinny woman in underpants doing yoga and that bothers you. Or you can say, wow, they really did what they intended to do with that video. There are some mean people in the yoga community. And nobody ever talks about it. There are people who trademark poses. My wife, when she opened her yoga studio, she got a letter from some guy in France saying that he owned the trademark to the word Tula yoga. And he basically told her, I own the copyright for that. You need to shut it down. And she freaked out a little bit. She had been open for 2 weeks. And she thought about changing her name. But instead, she had an attorney send a letter saying, could you please explain to us when you've been doing business in Chicago, and do you have any relationship to this other list of 20 Tula named entities that are also related to yoga? And then he went away. You know why? Because that's what bullies do when you stand up to them. Nobody talks about the fact that there's bullies in the yoga community. And there are. And you need to stand up to them. Because they're trying to put you out of business. Which means they're trying to take away your nourishment. And that's not okay. So creating space, pigeon pose is like my favorite pose. Except for when I start crying in front of people. But in the same way that doing yoga and doing your practice creates space in your body, you need to create space and room to grow in your business. So Tula, the software, was born. I had a software company, still have that software company, and my wife opened a yoga studio, and oh look, opportunity. Let's make software for yoga studios. But if I had just said, this is what my business is, this is what it's going to do, then I would not have seen that opportunity. And what we do sometimes is we set our intentions and we think we want to go a certain direction or a certain way, and then we learn new information, so we're literally smarter than we were before. And then we penalize ourselves for changing our mind about something or making a different decision about how to run the business. But that's okay. You have new information. That's what should happen, right? So don't punish yourself for learning new things. Embrace that. I do not like it when I hear people talking about yoga as if it is the antidote to everything. It drives me crazy. And people do it sometimes. Yoga is not psychotherapy, people. It's not marriage counseling. It's not medicine, it's not food, it's not air, it's not water, and we need to stop talking about it like it is, because it's harmful. You know those intersections with the clover leaves? I had some things I was dealing with as a human. And I thought that yoga should be helping me with it more than it was. And for me, it was like going on the off-ramp and getting on, and then going on the off-ramp and getting on, and I was moving, and there was some progress, and I felt a little bit better than if I was standing still, but I wasn't going anywhere. Like I had some things I needed to deal with, and I needed to talk to a professional therapist. And we go around acting like the mind-body connection is a one-way street sometimes. And it perpetuates the false belief that talking about working on your mind is somehow a deficiency. And that is not okay. I hear people in the yoga community talking sometimes about doing yoga and working on your body as if it could be a replacement for that kind of thing, for therapy. And the reality is that you can work on your body and you can improve on your mind. You can improve your mind as a result of that. Sometimes you have to work on your mind to improve your body. I never hear people talking about that. So you need to know your business has limits. And so this story, obviously relates to credit card processing. So for my business, our limit is I just don't want to deal with credit card processing. It's not what, I don't want to make money that way. It's just not what we do, right? So there's companies that we can integrate with, and our customers don't know the difference, but they're experts at processing credit cards. That's what they do. So we were able to serve our customers better by saying, we're not going to do that. Get one of these accounts and we hook up to it. So know your limits. Every business has limits. There are things you shouldn't do. There are things you shouldn't be doing with your business. And that's okay, right? Maybe your yoga studio shouldn't also be, Zumba and jump roping and cater events, right? Maybe it should if that's your intention, right? But I feel sometimes, it's release the shame from your back, doing your back bend. No, sometimes release the shame by having difficult conversations with professionals. So here's the thing. All of this is it's hard. Again, it's hard. Accepting where you are, having an intention, doing your practice, embracing strength, creating space, knowing your limits. And the reason it's hard is because they're all opposing forces. Accept where you are, but, you want to get to what you visualize. So be better, right? Setting an intention, but also creating space. Being strong, but don't be a jerk, and don't turn into a bully yourself, right? And it's balance. That's the thing. That's why it's hard. This picture, by the way, if you guys, there's a documentary called Man on Wire. Super awesome documentary. Okay, so I segue this into just a few little tactics that we've learned in the software world that I believe you can directly apply to brick and mortar businesses. So we'll move away from theme-based stuff into just a couple tactics, and then we'll do a little Q&A if you guys want. So the top 3 tactics that I can recommend to any business of any kind, really. So recurring revenue, generate recurring revenue. Honestly, if the only thing you got out of this from a business standpoint is I should generate recurring revenue, then I've done my job. Update your pricing to match your intention, right? And minimize discounts to the point where they are rare and valuable when you do run them. So there's a lot of tactical things I could talk about, but these are the 3 biggest ones, and also tactics are when things kind of start getting a little boring. So, okay, I have said this so many times to our customers that 100 times 100 is 10,000. So if you get 100 people to pay you $100 a month for your yoga business, that is $10,000 a month. That is something that you can do something with $10,000 a month in revenue. Loyalty over volume is what recurring revenue promotes, right? I did the math once. It's something literally 5,000 attendances via Groupon students gives you the same amount of money as having 100 monthly members. It's that skewed, right? The other thing, too, is it's like it does help build community. When people know that they're a member of your studio, they feel good about that. They feel like so Max, when he was talking about like the third place last night, that totally makes sense to me. I see people at my wife's studio do that all the time, and they hang out for some tea afterwards and have conversations with friends. And you can just tell that that's really why they're there. They could go get a Groupon and do yoga for $3 anywhere, right? Okay, so pricing. I am regularly stunned at how much work people who own a yoga studio expect their students to do to figure out what pass is the best one for them to buy. Like, this is like a short list. I usually see a much longer list. Like, single, 3-pack, 5-pack, 10-pack, 20-pack, 90 days unlimited, 60 days unlimited, 1 month, non-recurring, 1 month. Just, no, that's so much work for people. But importantly, like there is an optimal pricing, and your numbers will apply to yourself or whatever. But here's like why this matters, like tactically. If I am a person making a purchase and I'm like at the cash register, I'm ready to give you my credit card, the second least expensive thing for me to buy is the monthly membership. So if you don't want monthly members, then don't do this pricing. But if you do want monthly members, if you are trying to build recurring revenue, if you are trying to build that kind of student base, and this applies as well for like independent instructors, right? Like maybe you can get someone that'll give you $100 a month to give them one private every month, right? You get 10 of those people, and that's $1,000 every month. And they're already, like, when you do that, you set people up so that if they want to stop their, like, membership or their ones, now they have to, like, make a decision and go through effort to stop it, right? So, like, pricing does actually matter a lot. And then I'm going to talk about discounts, which the yoga community loves more than any other community in the whole universe. So I'm going to, this is going to sound harsher than I mean for it to, probably. But I do kind of mean it to be a little bit harsh. So, okay, here's the reality. If you are regularly having to have discounts so that you can sell the thing that you're selling, then people are not getting the value out of the thing that you're selling such that they're willing to pay full price for it. So, if you have the thing that you're selling, your private lessons or your yoga studio or some other business or service, if people are not buying it for the full price, either lower the price and make that the price, or add enough value so that people are willing to pay your full price. Discounts are something that when you have them, they should flood you with cash. And the type of discount you have matters. So my wife does not do discounts very often, but she did do some discounts about a year ago. But she didn't do, anybody can come do yoga for $4. What she did is she said, you can buy an annual membership for $800. And she sold 12 of them, and she all of a sudden had $10,000 more that month than she wouldn't have had. That is how discounts should be applied. When you have a discount every month, then that's just your pricing, and you're lying to people on your website all the time. That doesn't make any sense. So I intentionally end the talk on the discounts and everything because they're so prevalent. And I think they're an indication of all of the other stuff that I talked about, which is the other thing that's interesting about the yoga community is I will talk to people and they literally feel bad when their businesses start doing well. Like, as if they're doing something wrong by making a profit. And the reality is that financially healthy businesses, I hope Jessa and Amy made money from this event. You know why? I want to come do it again next year. So, but it's a weird thing because it's true that you want to like help people. You want to offer your services because you know they're beneficial to people, and that's great. You want to have a couple free community classes? Awesome, right? But you don't need to like give discounts to people all the time. So then the last thing is just, breathing. That's what you guys always tell me, right? Like, business, it's hard, stressful, like, but all the stuff that you teach people in yoga, like, it really, like, it directly applies to business. And I've applied it to my business, and I've seen my wife apply it to her businesses, and it does work. So that is my little talk. Yeah. I do a little, like, Q&A if you want.